Hello, this is Winston Cunningham. It is January the 26th, 2026. Forgiveness. In its original terms means, what are we willing to give for? That's the way to look at forgiveness. Because forgiveness is after we've gone through the steps of change and reached the point of acceptance in a particular way. Then we are prepared to, rather than just let it go, you put it in proper perspective. So that any time in the future you look back at this, you get the perspective instead of the old habitual thought pattern. So forgiveness really equates to acceptance, which is a part of the grace and the mercy that's mentioned in the Bible. The end result of experience, if you're using it productively, is forgiveness. Isn't that something? And as we've gone through the steps of change, if we have not, then we'll be kind of stuck in one of the steps of denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Acceptance is the only true beginning. Forgiveness is the only true beginning. And what I talked about last week, or the week before, is that it is when you're willing to release the past, or release your attachment to a particular episode or past. This can only be done by putting it in proper perspective. And then whenever you look at it, it's not bothersome like it once was, because you've decided what you're going to give for that. Because we can't get rid of anything. We can only replace it. So what you're willing to give for is what you're going to replace that anxiety or that hatred or that irritation, whatever it was. When you forgive that, it's not about someone else. Never was. No one can upset you without your permission. So when you are literally and figuratively and literally forgiving, you are replacing that illness with healing. So, in other words, forgiveness is healing. Replacing the erroneous attitude with a more productive one. And that's what we're willing to give for, and that's what forgiveness means in its original context. And I'm going through a period of time that's probably the most important for this lifetime, of looking closely at what I need to forgive. Because if there's something in the way of an erroneous attitude still plaguing me, it will show up in my physical body, and I've got some of that. So And that's I covered this in talk about respecting the body, but that's why we have these bodies, is so we can get that feedback. So to figure out what's going on in here and what needs to change in here, the people, places, and things are just reflections of how we're working with that. And sometimes I don't like the reflections that come through my environment. People, places, and things. So our life is nothing more or less than reflection of our own thoughts. Hello? And today when I'm doing a talk, it is a period of time where I'm home, not so much by choice, but by weather. And tonight we look forward to about a 0 degree temperature. And everything is covered with ice. It started with snow and freezing rain and whatever, but it's covered with ice. And ice is since I mentioned that, in language of mine, ice is a form of water which is not moving. Water that's moving represents motion, internal motion, because water represents experience. So ice is a reflection of how I may have been refusing to move from anything that can be termed limitation. So a big part of our experience here is overcoming limitations. And I grew up in religion, and religion, that's what religion does, is build up limitations in yourself. Because a religion will tell you, or many of them will, religion will tell you that God is everything and you're nothing. The truth is that you are God incarnate. You are the energy that is God, is you. So this process of using this physical body to gain experience, and all of these things, the forgiveness, everything that comes into play, is a part of growing up to accept our own creatorship, because we create our life as it is. And if we want to pretend that it's otherwise, then we got problems. And religion is full of that pretense. It's just foolishness. And it's sad, but that's what it is. Now religion does have some use. It keeps people off the street. And in some cases it puts people on the street, but I think for the most part there's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. The only true beginning is when we can forgive ourselves from having head in rectum and remove it, and therefore begin to see. Pull head from sand like the ostrich and begin to see. But you see by looking within, and to get a proper reflection of what you see around you. What you see around you is but a reflection of what's going on within you. It's the system. And it works whether you want to admit it or not. The length of time it takes you to see that and to admit it, it's referred to in the Bible, and this is what the word means, pain. Pain is a refusal to learn, as it's stated in the book Permanent Healing, and also stated in my experience. Because you can run, but you can't hide. Not from yourself. You're the one you can't get away from. You may fool somebody else, but you're not going to fool the one in the mirror. It's an interesting process, this process of learning to forgive. What am I willing to give for? Knowing that I can't get rid of anything, I can only replace it. So my attention is on right now for the change that I'm going through, and the change that I recognize I need to be making, is I'm really paying attention now within to get myself prepared. And I talked about this earlier. I'm preparing for my fourth, in the talk I said the third, but it's actually the fourth major life cycle. And I've got my life planned through 5 complete major life cycles of 28 years. And I'm receptive to getting into the development of what I need at this present time. So I'm paying attention to what can I give for? What can I do instead of what I've been doing? Now, that's not to say I've not done anything productive. These talks I'm doing are productive. But there's more that needs to be done. The only time we get in trouble is to think we're finished. Well, if you think you're finished, you are. And then you start going downhill. So, when something happens, your own making, that you don't see how you did yet, it requires some reflection time. And that's the period of time that I'm in now. Reflecting or opening myself to see. And I've had some dreams lately that have told me that I'm making progress, getting a lot deeper. Like I had one just a couple of nights ago that really pointed this out. And I verified it by looking in the Dreams of the Soul, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. I look up the sutra that related to my dream. I find this intuitively. And I look up also in the book, the Universal Language of Mind, Matthew Interpreted. And my book is so worn, I just asked for a page number. And it explained in detail. Same thing my dream said, same thing Dreams of the Soul said. It's saying the same thing. It just presented a little bit different. And I love using books to help me see better. And you can too. Just any book that you have faith in, it doesn't matter what the book is. Your own soul will guide you to what you need to see. You may be in a bookstore and something will just seem to fall off the shelf into your hands. It'll be something that you need, and your soul created this for you. And you build a better relationship with your own soul through meditation. which is the act of being still so that you can know, not just believe. Be still and know that I am God. It says it in the book. I think somewhere along the line, the powers that be, or the powers that pretend to be, removed the word is from that statement. I don't have evidence of that, but I know that. I mean, I can't prove it to you, but I know that myself. It's not for me to prove anything to you. That's your job. If you're turning that job over to somebody else, then you're in denial. And if you catch yourself reacting every time somebody steps on your toes religiously, and religious people want to steal the word spiritual without knowing what it means. The religion is bad about copycatting. I won't go into depth there. Just use your own imagination, or just observe. Just observe. Just look to see how religion has used rock music, turned toward their way of thinking, as if they were the ones that came up with it. It's just more lies. That's all it is. And I don't know how a person can, or how a group of people can just continue to lie, even to the point of electing a president who lies continually. How can a person would have to be denying who they are, or any semblance of understanding who they are, to be able to do that? And that's not to say that each president will contribute something. But pay attention to what the president does and what he says. Also, pay attention to what you do and what you say. Are you speaking truth as you see it, or as somebody else told you it is? Look in the mirror for 10 minutes a day. That's the beginning. And when you begin to see the truth about what is occurring, then you're at a place to where you can accept that, and therefore you now have the ability to forgive. So then you can decide what you're going to give instead of all the bullshit you've been given. That was somebody else's idea. One of my talks I did was, life is better if it's your idea. But ask yourself, are you working off of somebody else's idea or yours? I hope this stirs something. I do like to make people say, huh? But remember what the original meaning from it's easier for a rich man to enter through the eye of the needle than no, wait a minute. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, because a rich man thinks he's got it all already. Look at the current president. And in the biblical times, the period of time where the Bible was written, for the most part, the walls around a city had the entrance gates were called the eye of the needle, and the gates were not tall enough for a camel to go through with a load on. So, in order to enter the gates of the city, which is a way to see many aspects of yourself that have something in common, in order to enter into the eye of the needle, in order to enter into the gates of the city, you need to first unload the camel. This is what I'm talking about, is what are you willing to give for? You got to unload what was before you can admit what is and prepare for what can be. This is Winston Cunningham. Thank you.